Hello and welcome, everyone. First of all, I would just like to offer my sincere apologies. I really don't know how to explain what has happened with the technical difficulties. I know your time is valuable, and I'm even more embarrassed for wasting it with the technical difficulties. So here goes. So this is called How I Accidentally Healed My Eczema. I'm Neil Cannon, the best-selling author of The Vitality Secret. I'm a health coach and certified fitness nutrition specialist. I'd like to think you're in good hands. I know you're in good hands because I've helped a lot of people heal their eczema and psoriasis and other skin conditions, as well as other inflammatory conditions. So this stuff really works, and for just about everyone who implements this, they get results. So here's how you do it. So how to manage eczema without drugs and steroid creams. My goal is to make sure that you realize that you do not have to live with your eczema. Now, I did for 35 years. If you stay until the end, I'll send you a copy of my book for free. What makes this webinar different to what you may have already learned? So, as I said, I'm a best-selling author of this book, and I'm an award-winning program creator. I'm a health coach, podcast host, and also I'm a nutrition and fitness specialist. But what makes it different is, well, I'm getting results for people. I'm not saying other people don't get results for people. You're in good hands though, because this stuff is tried and tested, and it's really pretty amazing when you put it into action. So I've done a lot of good things, a lot of things right, but I've done a lot of things wrong, as we all have. So after doing this for about 30 odd years, I discovered, this is obviously not my neck there, but it's obviously a picture of eczema. I used to really not think much about diet. So I actually discovered that my healthy diet was actually making me struggle, an uphill battle. I went from cream to cream, from steroid to steroid, shower cream to bath ointment, white gloves, etc. I used to go to bed with these white gloves on when I was a kid. If you've seen any of my other videos, you'll have seen this. And I used to tear holes in them. It was really bad. And I'd go through gloves every couple of weeks. And I used to just think it was just my thing. It was hereditary. My sisters had it. So it's just our thing. You're born with it, right? That was what I was left with. That was the feeling that I was left with. And then, so I discovered this the hard way, really. And you get to cheat and get the easy way. So the hard way is to use steroid creams and poor quality moisturizers that do more harm than good, and focus entirely on the outside and not wonder what triggers it in the inside, what actually, triggers the irritation and the itching. So the hard way is to ignore the diet, ignore the exercise, and most importantly, psychology. And that last bit is massive. So would you like to get to the easy way that cuts through years of pain, embarrassment, and frustration? In the past 4 years, I've been free of eczema mostly, and I didn't go on holiday for 4 years. You're probably aware that when you go and soak yourself in the ocean, under the sun, on the beach, the eczema tends to go away. And there's a number of things happening there, one of which is the sunlight, second of which is the salt water, and obviously being stress-free helps to heal the eczema. That's always been the case for me in my whole life. So in this case, I'm just telling you that I wasn't on holiday the whole time in that 4 years, and I've just discovered that there is a root cause to the eczema. So I do have to say this, there is a disclaimer here. So depending on the severity of your eczema and your application of the material you'll find out in this webinar, results will vary. I cannot guarantee that you will have exactly the same results as me. So the top 3 secrets are, number 1, eczema has a root cause, and genetics do not have to play a part. Secret 2, your skin is the largest organ on the body and the first indication of imbalance. And the third one is the psychology of eczema. It's satisfying, pleasurable, habitual, and addictive. So the secret number 1 is revealing the underlying health condition. That is inflammation. Inflammation, in a nutshell, is an immune system response to what your body perceives as an attack on it. If something enters your body that your body does not recognize, this triggers inflammation. So here's an example of a cereal packet. There's a lot of long words on that, which, quite frankly, I have no idea what they mean. And the top ingredients I'd like you to pay particular attention to are all inflammatory conditions: wheat flour, sugar, vegetable oil, palm, shea nut, and cottonseed oils. If this is in America, this is all GMO. So the cottonseed, GMO, shea nut, GMO, palm might actually be okay if it's organic, but the majority of what's in that breakfast cereal is just bad news. So inflammation, I just want to kind of recap. There are actually two forms. One's acute and one's chronic inflammation. The acute type is when you, say, injure your knee or you hit an elbow and your body warms up the joint and it sends all these funky fluids to it. So it becomes painful. And the reason it becomes painful is so you don't hit it and cause further damage. So then the body repairs it. And after a while, the injury is repaired and you continue life as usual and pretend nothing ever happened. But on a chronic situation, something similar happens in your immune system. And it normally starts in the gut. So something enters your body that your gut doesn't recognize, although it starts in the mouth actually, but your body doesn't recognize it, and your immune system goes into a state of defense. And it's as if your body is trying to protect you consistently. So it's like your defense mechanism is on all the time. And it's not a healthy thing. It really isn't a healthy thing because, again, in the short term, it is a very healthy thing, but long term, it causes lots of problems in the body. Because if you think about it, if you're in defense mode all the time, everything else gets shut down, including your immune system. So what else causes inflammation? So there's toxins and poisons and environment, there's stress, insulin resistance. I won't go too much into that, but this is continuous and overexposure to the hormone insulin as a result of excessive sugar content. And then there's lack of physical activity and insufficient micronutrients. So there's more things. So a typical day in the life of me, Neil, would be like this. It would be like a breakfast cereal, healthy whole grain, quote unquote, healthy whole grain cereal with milk. Great for your bones, don't they say? Sandwich with, quote unquote, healthy whole grain brown bread with tuna, mayo, and lettuce and cucumber. Next, we'd have dinner, rice, pasta, white potatoes with meat and fish, and one token cooked vegetable. So it may all seem like it's relatively healthy, but what does this all mean? Well, it's a breeding ground for insulin spikes, immunosuppression, and inflammation. The first culprit I want to talk about is cow's milk. And the biggest clue about why cow's milk is inflammatory is from the fact that it's designed really for baby cows to grow fast. And there are many reasons. I could spend a whole hour on this, or a whole day on this, in fact, because there are so many components to milk which we should not be consuming. But in its simplest form, cow's milk is specifically designed for baby cows to grow fast. And I saw this interview once with, he's actually a pioneer in paleo, and he said, think of it this way. With dairy or with cow's milk specifically, he said, think of it this way. When human beings are born, their mother's milk is so incredibly perfectly designed for these baby human beings to grow fast. You have all these micronutrients, macronutrients, hormones, amino acids for these baby tiny human beings to grow fast. He says, similarly, the milk designed for baby cows is specifically designed for those baby cows to grow fast. Again, all the right nutrients, micronutrients, macronutrients, amino acids, proteins, hormones for these baby cows to grow fast, which look absolutely nothing like humans. In case you would have forgot what a human baby looks like, that's a human baby, and that's a cow, and then that's a pair of udders, and that's a human breast. Very different. I'm not going to talk too much about this, but really, the lactose in cow's milk, most people can't digest it because they no longer have the enzyme called lactase to break down the sugar lactose in the cow's milk. And the reason for that is because after we are weaned off our mother's milk, remember to get the right mammal and person, we lose the enzyme. We don't need this anymore. 75% of the population are lactose intolerant, and it's good reason for it. We don't have the enzyme. We're not meant to have the enzyme. It's acidic. It's got way more protein. It's not even human protein. So not good stuff. The next one is this cereal aisle. It's really quite offensive, even things that look healthy, because the modern hybridized wheat grain has made it so. And the modern hybridized wheat grain is causing more problems in people's guts than you'd care to imagine. It's been really messed with by man. It's nothing like what it used to be at the beginning of the agricultural industry. It really is pretty bad news, and I really recommend that you take a wide berth from the cereal aisle, unless you find stuff which is grain-free, or paleo, made from nuts and flax seeds and almond, these kinds of things. But the stuff that has a wheat base is really best to avoid at the moment. It spikes your blood sugars very sharply, and it causes inflammation in the gut. If you don't believe me, you can have a test, a blood test, or rather a microbiome test is a better one to take. That's a stool sample test. And if it shows that you have anti-gliadin in your stools, it will show that you have antibodies fighting against the intruder of gliadin. So I'm getting a bit technical here, but the point is there are ways to find out whether you are intolerant. The first way, of course, is to just stop eating it and see what happens to your skin. Loads of people find that when they take out gluten, when they take out dairy, their skin starts to heal already very quickly. So other toxins include these pesticides and herbicides, insecticides, and anything that ends in "-ides" is typically not very good for your health. If you think about it, these guys wear these full body biological protective gear, suits, and they're spraying all this vegetation in it, and then we go and eat them and give it to our kids. It's not the best kind of stuff. So epigenetics, just quickly, without overloading you too much, this is something really important to know, and I touched on it at the beginning. We often think that we just, I mentioned it earlier, we often think that it's just our thing. We have to live with it. Eczema is just our thing. So, you're born with it, you've got to live with it, you've just got to do whatever you've got to do to deal with it. So epigenetics is the science that came out in 2005, actually, and it talks about how it doesn't actually matter whether you come from a whole family of eczema sufferers. It doesn't matter if you come from a whole family of diabetes or cancer sufferers, because with epigenetics, you can completely override a genetic predisposition to getting something by the choices that you make. So what that means is we have the power to turn on and off the DNA, the genes, which are, make us susceptible to eczema and anything. So it's really about the environment that we keep inside our body and what we do with our body. So what we put in our body, what we do with our body, and the exposure to, environmental toxins, etc., really making that, really minimizing that. So the secret too is your skin is the largest organ on the body and the first indication of imbalance. And on the right there's a picture of a gut, and that really is what we want to be paying attention to with eczema. So it's really quite extraordinary because it really does start here. If your gut is out of balance, the first indication that your gut is out of balance is your skin. And that can be eczema, psoriasis, acne, dermatitis, anything that happens on the skin. Literally, the skin is the first indication that your body is out of balance. And really what I mean is your gut is out of balance. So I like to think of eczema as your gift. It may sound very, very weird here and the reason I say this is because when we understand that skin is the first indication, it's almost like a warning going, hey body, hey Neil, whatever your name is, unless you change what you're doing, this inflammation can get worse. And if you allow this inflammation to get worse things happen. So I like to see that this is actually a beautiful communication from your body to actually change what you're doing. So here's chronic inflammation. When it gets worse, it turns into cardiovascular diseases, meaning heart attacks and strokes. Then it goes to bone, muscular, and skeletal diseases, chronic inflammatory diseases, neurological diseases, so Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, diabetic complications, metabolic disorder complications, cancer. It all starts with chronic inflammation. So if we now know that eczema is an inflammatory condition, now do you see why I call it a gift? Because when we heal the eczema from the inside out by healing the gut and not just go from one cream to another cream to a steroid to a cream to a bath to whatever else, we actually just say, hey, that's my body telling me something. So you've heard it, I've heard it, we've all heard it. You are what you eat. When diet is wrong, medicine is of no use. When diet is correct, medicine is of no need. This is an ancient Ayurvedic proverb. I love it. I use it all the time. And another one I love is whenever we eat anything, we are either feeding disease or we are fighting it. So we're either fueling our body or we're fueling disease. And it sounds pretty harsh, but we just need to be more mindful about what we're putting in our body, because when we are, we can clear our skin up, look amazing, have shiny skin, and that builds our confidence and whatnot. So in fact, did you know that whatever you put in your body eventually becomes a part of you? This is such an interesting thing. And I read this book called Gut, and it was phenomenal. This woman just broke down so bit by bit exactly what happens from the moment that you put something in your mouth to the moment that you excrete it. All the mechanisms that happen in the body. I think everyone should read this book because it really gets you thinking, what should I eat to fuel my body and get rid of clear my skin up. So with every bite you take, you're either feeding disease or you're fighting it. I said that already. You are making yourself stronger or weaker with every bite. So the secret number 3 is the psychology of eczema, and this is a huge thing. So the first one, it's satisfying. When you start scratching an itch, it gets to a stage where you really start to enjoy it. So you enjoy it, and because you enjoy it, that's another word for that is it's pleasurable. So even though the aftermath you don't enjoy, the process of scratching you enjoy. It's pleasurable, it's satisfying, and then because it's so enjoyable and satisfying, it can become a habit. So often, if you're stressed, for example, I know you'll relate to this if you suffer from eczema, the first thing we do when we're stressed is we scratch. And it's like a go-to thing in the case of stress. But what I also find is that if you've got eczema, it's very easy to kind of wake up in the morning and just start scratching for no reason, because purely out of habit, not because you're itchy, but out of habit. And it might be that you're kind of in an environment where you're not particularly happy or certain or at ease, and you might be bored, or you might be frustrated, or you might be depressed, or you might have anxiety. The first thing we do is we scratch, because we've programmed it into our minds, and then it becomes addictive. This is kind of weird and scary and cool when you think about it, because when you actually decipher what's happening psychologically, this right here is one of the biggest components to healing eczema. Because if we can program our mind unconsciously to scratch, then we can reprogram our mind consciously not to scratch. So I'll say that again. If we can unconsciously program our mind to scratch in the event of stress or habitually, it is quite equally possible to consciously train or retrain the brain not to scratch. It's just about forming new habits. So if it's a problem that you might just have to have, that becomes an addiction, and it might even become an identity, which I won't go into just now. So I cleaned up my diet massively. I effectively got moving, and I say put effective in there because sometimes I used to go on these really long runs and I get really hot and sweaty, and then that would make me itchy. So it's a matter of getting this right, not doing exercise that really heats the body up too much, and doing stuff that keeps you calm and collected. And there's it's not as hard as you think once you understand the things that might be standing in your way. So manage emotions like stress, predominantly stress, and then results: clear skin, lots of energy, effortless fat burning, high drive, clear head, very low stress, motivated. So that's really how I've kind of changed over the years. Over the 4 years, I've really managed to make this happen, and for the most part I don't have eczema. It does come back occasionally. I can't say it's completely healed. I can't say it's cured. Whenever you say cured, it means it's never going to come back. So with eczema, it's one of these things you have to manage, and there are times when it comes back, but it's very much under wraps now. And for the most part, the clean diet has done a huge amount in combination with changing habits and being active. But the psychology of this is huge. So your results are 80% dependent on one thing, and that is your psychology. 80% of success in anything is really down to psychology, and just 20% mechanics. The dietary changes needed for this are not that complicated. The moving and physical activity changes needed are not that complicated. The psychology is the most challenging part, I'd say, but also the most rewarding when you get right. So the psychology of eczema is actually fascinating. It's satisfying, it's pleasurable, it's habitual, and it's addictive. So, and did you know what our greatest addictions are? Our problems. And they become part of our identity. And this is actually known as a negative identity. It's something which we become attached to. It becomes our thing. We almost worship it. Imagine what we'd be like without it. You've got all this reverse psychology happening in our minds. It becomes this thing that we become attached to. So we need to separate ourselves from the identity of having it. So in the past hour, would you say it's been useful? Can't obviously cover everything in an hour. And how long have I been talking for? Not long at all. So I wanted to speed this up because of the delayed start. So I want to make you a no-brainer offer so you can actually get everything you need to know. And if you act fast, I'm going to do a very special deal. So old habits die hard. So I'd like you to be excited, and I'd like to introduce my award-winning inflammation solution program. This is, I say award-winning because I received an award. There I am receiving the award for the Southern California Sustainable Business Award. And there's me and Moby with the award. This is 12 pillars of getting rid of inflammation in your body. And it works. It quite simply works. It goes through those 12 different pillars. So neuro skills and psychology, oxygen, fluids. This is really about cleansing, detoxification, lymphatic immune support. That is the part of your immune system responsible for getting rid of dead cells, dead cancer cells, dead waste products, activity, macronutrients, micronutrients, sleep, toxin and poison elimination, insulin sensitivity, orthopedics and care of the human frame, and nature's pharmacy, no drugs, just natural supplements. This stuff works, and I'd really love you to join me. So as my health coach, Neil helped me reverse prediabetes, reduce inflammation and high blood pressure, normalize unhealthy cholesterol levels, and lose 40 pounds of fat. I have more energy and my mood fluctuations have eased a lot. Thank you, Neil. That's Vishali in Los Angeles. This is Mark Rayworth. My mindset is different. The way I look at food is different. The quality of my life and my children has greatly improved. For me, it was life-changing and the best thing I've ever done. I burned 42 pounds of fat in just over 6 weeks. My arthritis is gone, and my final twist was the plaque on my teeth literally falling off. I highly recommend this program. This one is actually from YouTube. It's been 7 days without dairy or wheat, and I'm in shock. I'm loving it. I'm looking forward to seeing myself wear shorts for the summer. I haven't used ointments. My diet has made my skin looking better. I'm so happy. Thank you for your great advice. This one's slightly longer, but I wanted to read it quickly. I recently commented on one of your other videos, thought I might share my story. I was recently getting really bad flare-ups. I've always had very mild eczema, and it only came in small patches. However, this time it went all over my body, and I was convinced there might be something wrong with me, something serious. It got really severe, and I ended up with infections and intense itching all over. I had to moisturize my whole body twice daily to make sure I didn't get any eczema, something I've never had to do. And it just seemed to get out of nowhere, come out of nowhere. I couldn't wear the clothes I used to wear, jeans, certain fabrics, and I had to use strong steroid creams to manage the eczema I did get. After watching this video, I decided I'd give up dairy. I only ever had a small amount anyway in my coffee once a day, as well as occasionally having cheese. Literally 5 days after doing this, my skin changed. It got its smooth feeling back after just a couple of days. My eczema literally has disappeared. I can't believe it. Thank you for the video. I might never have tried it if I didn't watch it. This stuff works. So I'd like to offer you a free strategy call. This is one of the best ways to get accelerated results is with a bit of one-on-one coaching. And I do have the digital program alone, which you can actually get your hands on. And if you're someone who would like some support with this, I would like to invite you to have a strategy call. Now, I have coaching for my own business, believe it or not, after all those technical errors. I do have a coach, and it's way better than doing this all alone. And it's a big thing. We've talked about psychology, we've talked about nutrition, we've talked about lifestyle. There's a few things to get right. So the people I work with do get the best results. I don't think I need to explain that anymore. So I would like to offer you a free strategy call, and we can take it from then and see how I can best support your needs to get you amazing results and feeling good in your own skin, really. So if all this did was make you less itchy, would it be worth it? What about if it just alleviated some embarrassment? Would it be worth it? What about if it improved your self-confidence a weeny bit? Would it be worth it? What's clear skin worth to you? How much would you pay, or invest rather, to get clear skin forever and skyrocketed confidence? Remember, when inflammation becomes chronic, it leads to just about every chronic disease that there is. There's a little reminder. All of those conditions stem from chronic inflammation. Eczema is like your first warning of inflammation. And it accelerates the biological aging process. It makes you age faster. And who wants that? So book yourself in for a strategy call and let's get you feeling young with clear skin, shiny skin, feeling good in the skin that you're in. Hit that link, neilcannonhealth.com/coaching, and we can book in a call and see how I can best support your needs. Again, thank you so much for watching and tuning in, and I'd like to apologize for the delay at the start. I'm going to make sure these technical issues don't happen anymore. So thank you again and have a lovely evening.